Hey guys and girls, my name is Dana Moravska, this is my YouTube channel Dana Tells Tales, and today I'm gonna share with you top 20 classic books each person should read in my opinion before he or she dies. I have made this list basing only on my personal opinion, and it's okay if you disagree with some of its points. This summer I have graduated from the literature comparison courses at the university, so having spent 6 last years of my life reading and analyzing different kinds of books, I have gained some reading experience I'd like to share with you. I was creating this list based on the chronological order of when the books were first published, and this approach in my opinion gives you an opportunity to create your own list based on my recommendations, as well as to tell about each period of time regarding its main literature masterpieces. So let's begin. And the first two books I'd like to tell you about are Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. I have put here two books instead of one, as they are two parts of the same story, the same legend, and were written by the same author at the same period of time. Dated back to approximately 8th-7th century before Christ, these classic Homer poems tell us the story about Trojan War, and especially one of its main heroes, Odyssey, and his adventures way back home. I do recommend reading these two books even if you don't like Greek ancient history or adventurous plots, as they became references for many literature pieces of 19th and 20th century, and some of them I will even mention in this list. Homer's poems will also give you basic understanding of Greek mythology, which will also come in handy while discovering further literature plots. And finally, it's simply interesting to find out how literature was written at the period before Christ was born. The second book in our list is Decameron, written by Boccaccio. It is built as a frame story containing 100 tales told by a group of 3 young men and 7 young women isolated in a village just outside the Florence. They were sheltering there, trying to escape the Black Death that was just afflicting the city. Only imagine, a group of people are isolated in a shelter, trying to save themselves from a deadly disease and telling each day stories to entertain themselves. This situation slightly reminds us of current coronavirus pandemic, so it's quite a funny thing to discover how history moves in a spiral and comebacks in different variations of the same story. The Decameron novels range from practical jokes to tragic life lessons, and in addition to its literature value and widespread influence, it provides the document of life at that time. So it is worth reading for everyone who wants to spend a quarantine with a good classic book alongside with its heroes. And on the third place of our list is of Dante's Divine Comedy. I remember reading this narrative poem at school, and I remember that it was one of few books from school curriculum that I was really keen on reading. The story of Dante's journey to hell inspired me so much that it took me a day or so to read the whole book. Then I returned to Divine Comedy during my first year at the university, and I remember that then we had a task to draw all the 9 circles of Inferno and to draw a scheme of these 9 circles, and I remember how inspired I was accomplishing this task. Unlike the most of the books written several centuries ago, the Divine Comedy isn't boring and complicated. Vice versa, it amazes the reader from its first pages with its mysterious atmosphere and deep philosophy. We can even find references to Divine Comedy in Harry Potter's story, and if you want to discover why Dumbledore is associated with Virgil, check out the icon somewhere in this corner of the video. So I truly recommend it for everyone who wants to get acknowledged with the most recognized Italian work of literature. The next book I'd like to recommend you is Hamlet, written by William Shakespeare. I bet you all know the plot very well, so there is no need for me to retell it. Written at the beginning of the 17th century, Hamlet has a 400-year stage history, and its newest interpretation with Benedict Cumberbatch playing Hamlet is, in my opinion, a true masterpiece, and I truly recommend it to watch for you if you haven't done it yet. Hamlet has everything: controversial main hero, family drama, royal intrigues, deep monologues, and the motive of revenge. Alongside with other remarkable Shakespeare plays such as Romeo and Juliet, Othello, Macbeth, and King Lear, Hamlet stands on the first place of classic English literature and is surely worth to read. The next book I'd like to tell you about is Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. Written in the middle of 15th century, this novel about brave and naive ingenious gentleman remains one of the world's most read classics. Telling the story of adventures of Don Quixote and his loyal companion Sancho Panza, the novel raises deep philosophical questions. The image of Don Quixote became the symbol of all the dreamers and fighters for justice, even those whose fight was from the beginning bound to fail. So, apart from the pure joy of adventurous plot, this book will also make you rethink some of your life values, and that's why I do recommend to read it for everyone. The next book is Faust by Goethe. It's a story of a scholar who makes an arrangement with the devil, called Mephistopheles. According to the deal, Mephistopheles will do everything Faust wants while he is here on earth, and in exchange, Faust will serve the devil while he is in hell. Combined with his love to Margaret, the story of Faust shows the psychology of the human soul, vulnerable and weak, but at the same time empathetic and tragic. Faust is considered to be Goethe's magnum opus and one of the greatest books in all German literature. The next two books are Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen and Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I was decided for a long period of time which of these two books leave, and ultimately I decided to leave them both because they were written at the same period of time by English women, and they both tell us the story of a strong young woman who struggles with tough circumstances and decides to change her life on her own favor. These two novels at the beginning of the 19th century made a real revolution in women's literature, as for the first time showed a strong main heroine who is in charge of everything that's happening in her life and is not afraid to make willing decisions, as well as take responsibility for everything connected with her relationships with men. So, if you want to understand how the feminist literature was established, you just have to include Jane Eyre and Pride and Prejudice into your to-read list. Eighth book is a novel written in 1862 by Victor Hugo and called Les Misérables. This epic story tells us about several characters that lived during 1832 June Rebellion in Paris. The protagonist, ex-convict Jean Valjean, is rejected by the society. However, he chooses the path of right house life and eventually experiences redemption. His life story is closely related to other characters' story arcs. Examining the nature of law and grace, the story elaborates upon the French history, architecture, and urban design of Paris, giving the readers unique experience of immersing themselves in French lifestyle of that time. The next book is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Written in the 1890s, this English novel shows us how your own sins can dramatically transform your soul and how your inner beauty can hide your outer vices. A young, handsome and smart guy, Dorian Gray, begins to live an inappropriate life. But instead of experiencing the destructive effect of his crimes on himself, he observes the transformation of his portrait hidden in the old attic. You'll be surprised with the end of the novel and surely excited with its development. Furthermore, the picture of Dorian Gray is full of catchy and wise quotations that will surely come in handy in different life situations. And the last book for today's video is The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. In this case, I'm also 100% sure that you all know the story perfectly well, so it's no need for me to retell it. Classic detective story of charismatic London detective captured hearts of many readers all around the world, and its numerous movie adaptations, including the later BBC TV series, proves its immortality throughout the centuries. Smart, funny, and intriguing, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes gives all of us opportunities to feel ourselves true detectives and solve the crimes together with Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. And the fantastic writing style of Conan Doyle will not let you put the book away for a long period of time. That's all for today. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell not to miss the second part of this video. My name's Dana Murawska and I hope to see all of you very soon on my channel.